Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome to a moment of IG Live with Michael B. Beckwith. We're going to begin in just a moment as people are even now signing up, and appreciate you taking time out to center yourself. Today is going to be dedicated to just kind of cleaning our consciousness so we become greater vehicles and instruments through which real change can take place, through which the beloved community, which is what Dr. James Lawson and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. espoused so eloquently in terms of the world house, in which all humanity can live in this house, regardless of sexual orientation, color of skin, nationality, language spoken, religious upbringing. The beloved community is a kind and just global society, and the fabric of the beloved community has certain qualities in it that we want to begin to embody in our life at this particular time in human history, specifically, and in particular, because the tumult that's happening in our nation and in the world is fomenting such fear and worry and doubt and fretting and anxiety and anxiousness and fear of annihilation, that in order to combat those emotions, we have to transmute those thoughts and come to a higher order of our being. Thus, at the end of the day, we must turn to who we are as spiritual beings. We must turn to who we are as authenticity, our authentic nature, our real and eternal nature. Everything else is piecemeal. Everything else, you can't change the world through manipulation. You can't change the world through intimidation, provocation, seduction. The world is never changed by that kind of manipulation in the world, even though people try. Politicians try it, marketers try it. But ultimately, the world comes to the next stage of its unfoldment on the hearts and minds of individuals who are living from a higher order of being. So today, in the precious moments that we have together, this is going to be about reminding us what that quality is. And I'm going to do some readings in which we'll be able to contemplate the essence of these readings so that we take into the world that sacred quality that is the most powerful, potent energy on the planet. I still see people coming on to the IG Live, and so we'll begin in a moment. Well, we're already beginning. I just haven't gone to the readings yet. Always want to remind you that you're more than you think you are. You're not just the product of your past. You're not merely the product of hereditary patterns that you garnered from your family. You're not merely your interpretation of your past experiences. You're not your body. You're not your mind. You're not the possessions that you own. When we come to an understanding of who we are as emanations of the only life that there is, which is the life of limitless love intelligence, called by many names. Limitless love intelligence is called by the name God. It's called by the name Mother, Father, God, Infinite Spirit, Lord God Almighty. There's myriad of names, but I'm always reminded from the Bhagavad Gita, one of my favorite spiritual texts. It says in substance that water wets it not, fire burns it not, wind blows it and not away. When you name it, you can't find it, but when you find it, you can't really name it. We're talking about the ineffable presence of love, beauty, intelligence. the presence of God. And for us who are practitioners, I don't mean licensed spiritual therapists, I mean individuals who practice affirmative prayer, practice sacred meditation, practice life visioning, practice hanging with individuals who have an intention to grow, develop, and unfold to the greater yet to be, have an intention to be in high conversation, to be studying these spiritual principles and putting them into practice. We have an understanding of individuals who have become practitioners is that the frequency and the vibration that we begin to emanate from not only determines our perception and our experience, but it assists in the unfoldment of our species. Human beings, spiritual beings having a human incarnation. We are at the stage of our unfoldment. I'm welcoming individuals. I have a 5-week meditation class that I'm facilitating, and the first night was last night. And so I invited that class to to tune in to this IG Live. So I welcome you back today. And for those who have an inkling, who want to join the meditation class, it's still available. You can go to agapelive.com, click on the University tab, and sign up for the class. And the class you missed, it's saved. You can just go back and archive it, just watch it and begin and be with us live for the next 4 weeks. But that's an aside. I'm welcoming the individuals from the class because I told them that I was going to do some readings from Dr. Howard Thurman today in order to elevate our awareness about the quality of love. With all the tumult that's going on in the world needs an injection of the love ethic. And individuals, and it's difficult to be in fear or hate, anxiety, anxiousness, and to be in the frequency of love at the same time. Love is a high frequency. It's not a sweet, sentimental, romantic emotion. Love is the most powerful, potent presence that exists that we know of. It is the total givingness of pure spirit without any sense of withhold, without any agenda, without any judgment. The love of God activates our deepest potential. This is why Dr. Thurman, I used to quote this a lot, and I helped build agape on this frequency. He described love as meeting a person, meeting them where they are, but treating them as though they were where they should be. Now that's compassion. That's a high form of love. To meet a person that might be in ignorance, that might be destructive, they might be self-destructive, but treating them or seeing them according to their potential. Now that's very difficult, particularly during times of volatility, during times where we see hate being spewed all across the land. We see racial superiority raising its head and being very emboldened. We see all manner of things. But nevertheless, as Nelson Mandela was a strong primary example of this, tortured and abused in jail for 27 years, not in the same location, but 27 years incarcerated, once released, had the love ethic so imprinted upon his heart that the frequency of forgiveness is what he built the nation on. And we can cite many individuals. We can cite His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who had to escape from Tibet as the Chinese government and the onslaught of its soldiers were killing and raping nuns and destroying temples, and he escaped and found refuge in India. Has no ill will towards the Chinese people. He understands it was the Chinese government that did the genocide, but still seeks to keep his heart open because he can't build the world, can't help build a kind of just global society with hate in his heart. We see the cohorts of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Dr. King Jr. himself holding that space of agape, unconditional love, in the midst of brutal beatings and jail time. And we're called upon to hold that frequency. And so I'm going to read something, and then we're going to contemplate it. I'm going to read two pieces. We're going to contemplate it together. And then meditate on it and go into a space of love, so that as we go out into a fitful world, we're going out as ambassadors of the next stage of human evolution. Let me speak a little bit about human evolution. It's really unfoldment where we are concerned. The difference between unfoldment and evolution is that unfoldment emerges from an idea that's already complete and always completing itself through its unfoldment. In other words, you take a small seed or an acorn, let's say, a little small acorn. Within that acorn is the energetic pattern and information of an oak tree. It's already there. And so when the acorn is placed in the proper condition, it unfolds, the oak tree unfolds. It dies to the acornness, and what emerges are roots and shoots that ultimately become an oak tree. It's an idea already complete, but it unfolds. There's a completed idea within us. Doesn't mean it's done in the sense that you get to a certain point and it's over. That completed idea is infinitude, infinite beings, eternal beings, always unfolding to reflect and to reveal the cosmos in a way that has never happened before, to reveal the face of divinity according to our unique pattern. Now here's the difference between the acorn that becomes the oak tree and us. The acorn doesn't have the word no in it, doesn't have the word maybe, doesn't have the word might, doesn't have the word delay, denial, procrastination. You plant the acorn or any seed in the proper condition, it will unfold. We are made in the image and likeness of the infinite, which means we can think independent of circumstances, which means we have the capacity to choose. We have to choose to participate in the unfoldment. A tree doesn't have a choice. It emerges to reveal the divine life according to treeism. We have to choose it, even when it's hard. We have to embrace the love ethic, the peace ethic, the joy ethic, the generosity ethic, even when it is hard, so that we are unfolding into our greater yet to be, and then the releasing of talents and gifts from the love ethic, not manipulation, not intimidation, not provocation, not seduction, not manipulation. We unfold and become a vibrational siren, an invisible, inaudible frequency of the next stage of our unfoldment, you see, especially when it's hard. I want to read a couple of things to you. If you can, sit with your eyes closed and let this penetrate your being. These particular pieces, as the individuals that went through contemplative meditation with me last night in my class know, is from Dr. Howard Washington Thurman. Howard Thurman. I met Dr. Thurman. I met him when I was attending Morehouse College. I met him at other times too, but that was my first time meeting him. And I stayed in Thurman Hall for a period of time at Morehouse College. And he had traveled to India, where he met Mohandas K. Gandhi and got the seeds of nonviolence and brought it back to Dr. King and his cohorts. He was holding that space of a nonviolent revolution, a nonviolent movement to help change the course of history. He's not as known as many of the other people, primarily because he was also a mystic. He could go deep into the eternal awareness of the presence of God, and what he wrote and what he shared and what he was about was very profound. He started the first integrated church in America in the Bay Area. So anyway, he comes from that kind of dynamic. And I had the privilege of meeting him, privilege of studying his material, and he's been always a great influence on my heart and soul. Close your eyes and listen to this. This is entitled, More Loving in My Heart. I want to be more loving. Often there are good and sufficient reasons for exercising what seems a clear, direct resentment. Again and again, I find it hard to hold in check the sharp retort, the biting comeback, when it seems that someone has done violence to my self-respect and decent regard. How natural it seems to give as good as I get, to take nothing lying down, to announce to all and sundry in 1,000 ways that no one can run over me and get away with it. All of this is a part of the thicket in which my heart gets caught again and again. But deep within me, I want to be more loving, to glow with a warmth that would take the chill off the room which I share with those whose lives touch mine in the traffic of my goings and comings. I want to be more loving. I want to be more loving in my heart. It is often easy to have the idea in mind, the plan to be more loving, to see it with my mind and to give assent to the thought of being loving. This is crystal clear. But I want to be more loving in my heart. I must feel like loving. I must ease the tension in my heart that ejects the sharp barb and the stinging word. I want to be more loving in my heart, that with unconscious awareness and deliberate intent, I shall be a kind and gracious human being. Thus, those who walk the way with me may find it easier to love, to be gracious because of the love of God, which is increasingly expressed in my living. Simply, I want to be more loving in my heart. And this is Dr. Thurman encouraging us to even want to feel like loving. Now, why is this important? We see so many people on the planet right now in our country that are living by their opinion of what they think is right and wrong, living by their opinion of what should be done and not should be done. And you saw a group of individuals rush the Capitol and try to overthrow the Capitol, and obviously 5 people got killed in doing this. And there's, we could go through iterations and iterations of all manner of things going on. And regardless of where we stand in terms of our political persuasion, without love, without the love ethic being activated, as I was speaking about to a degree on Sunday, no real change will ever take place. It won't happen. Real change is not going to take place through might and power, manipulation, provocation, intimidation, seduction. It's not going to do it. The fabric of the next leg of our species must be based upon love, the same way that Nelson Mandela began to rebuild South Africa after the heinous structure of apartheid was taken down. People were expecting him, some were even hoping that he would have retribution towards those who not only imprisoned him, but oppressed millions of people. But somewhere within his heart and soul, he knew that he couldn't build a new society on hate or revenge or war tribunals. Remember, he had forgiveness tribunals where individuals had to confess their wrongdoings, their hate, their oppression, how they participated in that structure. In order for them to be forgiven, to enter back into society, obviously with monitoring and with counseling and things of that particular nature, but we have to ask ourselves, what kind of world do we want to live in? And that world, when you describe it with your heart, will not be loveless. That world would not be fraught with just, I'm right. That world would not be full to overflowing with people that just agree with you. That'd be the most boring world on the planet. It has to have the love ethic. This is some of the work we have to do. We have to have a vision of a kind of just global society. We have to work for it. We have to call out injustice when injustice is there. We can't be doormats. We have to defend ourselves. All of that is true. But underneath all of those actions must be love. And not just for love of people who look like you, but it must be love. One of the great statements from Dr. Thurman is that to say you love humanity has very little meaning, because humanity it's abstract. That concept is abstract. You have people say, I love humanity, I'm doing this for humanity. Humanity is made up of people. That means you have to learn to love the people that are around you. People that cross your path, whether they look like you, don't look like you, whether they're same sexual orientation, not same sexual orientation, different religion, different colors of skin, different backgrounds, different nationalities. Without that kind of love ethic, there's no real building of the beloved community. So I thought I would just stop today. With everything going on the planet, and people living in high volume nervousness across the board, we have to remember that our essence is love. And then we have to contemplate love and compassion until it becomes the activity of our awareness. Again, doesn't mean you're a doormat, doesn't mean that you just allow injustice to run rampant, doesn't mean any of that. But if you get pulled into hate, you become very weak. The synapses of your brain don't work as well. There's static on the line, and you can't catch intuitive hits. You can't catch the wisdom of the ages flowing through you. You block it. Hate hinders and makes you blind to possibilities. So the love ethic is important. I mean, he says, I want to be more loving in my heart. And often there are good reasons for exercising resentment. We find it hard to hold in check the sharp barb coming out of our mouth, the biting comeback. It's hard. We want to give as good as I get. We want to do this, you see. And he calls this the thicket. All of this is a part of the thicket in which my heart gets caught again and again. But deep within me, I truly just want to be loving, to glow with the warmth that will take the chill off the room, which I share with those whose lives touch mine in the traffic of my goings and comings. I want to be more loving. I love this part right here. I want to be more loving in my heart, that with unconscious awareness and deliberate intent, I shall be a kind and a gracious human being. Can you consider yourself a kind and gracious human being? Can you contemplate yourself being a kindness, a kind and gracious human being? Thus, those who walk the way with me may find it easier to love. To be gracious because of the love of God, which is increasingly expressed in my living. I want to be more loving in my heart. So instead of having a guest today, I stopped in. Against the backdrop of so much going on in the world and some of the things behind the scenes we don't even know about. We don't know the chicanery and the bamboozlement and the agendas that people have for our lives. Agendas being held by people of so-called pseudo-power. We don't know. We don't know who's playing the divide and conquer game, keeping people separated and hating each other so that other agendas can come into place. We don't know. But this stage of our evolution, we can't allow ourselves to be denigrated into hate, indifference. Whether you can't allow anyone to become so powerful in your life that they make you hate them. Of course, there are extreme cases where that kind of hate emerges, but ultimately, through the forgiveness process, one comes back to themselves. This is a very important moment in human history. Is the next iteration going to be built on hate? Separation? Or is the next iteration going to be built on love and unity? Unity with the presence of God in our own hearts first, and then unity within the God presence of each of us, so that humanity has a face. Humanity has so many different color faces, so many shapes and sizes, so many ethnic backgrounds, so many national origins. Humanity has all of that. So you can't say I love humanity if you don't embrace all of that. You see. Can I read one more? Can I read one more piece? I think. I'm going to read one more piece for Dr. Thurman. And if you didn't know who Dr. Thurman was, you want to study Dr. Thurman. And once again, we do not put into the back seat justice and working for justice. We don't put into the back seat calling out injustice when it's very blatant and obvious. We don't put into the back seat the fact that we have to deal with sexual trafficking in our world still and sexual slavery. We don't put into the back seat the fact that, there's racism still alive and racial superiority still exists. We don't put that in the back seat. But we don't allow it to make us a hater. We become so powerful in our loving that our right action in building a kind of just global society, the foundation piece is love and peace. And peace is not, what's the word? Peace is not anemic. Peace is not, oh, I'm so peaceful, you can hurt me, you can do what you want. No, that's not peace. Peace is a quality. It's the dynamic, this is what peace is. Peace is the dynamic of harmonizing good. It's a quality that is expressed through us. So you can emanate peace in the midst of conflict, in the midst of struggle. It's a quality. Ultimately becomes a dynamic of peace of mind, embracing the love ethic. So you're actually building a world by becoming peace and by becoming love, even though you may have to do hard things. You may have to do hard things, you see. But you don't let anybody take you from your love ethic. This is one more piece, I think, that speaks to this. Again, Dr. Thurman, it's called Keep Open the Door of Thy Heart. Keep open the door of thy heart. If you can, stop, listen with your heart, eyes closed, and just feel that let this hit you. You can feel Dr. Thurman through the ages speaking to us. Keep open the door of thy heart. It matters not how many doors are closed against thee. It's a wondrous discovery when there is disclosed to the mind the fact that there may not be a direct and responsible relation between two human beings that can determine their attitude toward each other. We're accustomed to thinking that one person's attitude towards another is a response to an attitude. The formula is very neat. Love begets love, hate begets hate, indifference begets indifference. Once Often, this is true. Again and again, we try to mete out to others what we experience at their hands. There is much to be said for the contagion of attitudes. There are moments in everyone's life when they try to give as good or as bad as they get. But this presupposes that the relation between human beings is somehow mechanical. As if each person is utterly and completely separated. This is far from the truth, even though it may seem to square with some of the facts of our experienced behavior. Listen to this. There's a profound ground of unity that is more pertinent and authentic than all the unilateral dimensions of our lives. This a person discovers when they are able to keep open the door of the heart. This is one's ultimate responsibility. And it is not dependent upon whether the heart of another is kept open for him or her. Here's the mystery. If sweeping through the door of my heart, there moves continually a genuine love for you, it bypasses all your hate and all your indifference and gets through to you at your center. You are powerless to do anything about it. You may keep alive in devious ways the fires of your bitter heart, but they cannot get through to me. Underneath the surface of all the tension, something else is at work. It is utterly impossible for you to keep another from loving you. True, you may scorn their love. You may reject it in all ways within your power. You may try to close every opening in your own heart. It will not matter. This is no easy sentimentality, but it is the very essence of the vitality of all being. The disclosure to one who has found that when they keep open the door of their heart, it matters not how many doors are closed against them. This is taken from Dr. Thurman's book, For the Inward Journey. Did you hear this? There's a profound ground of unity that passes between us. And though someone may hate you, you don't have to like that person. But if you go in and allow for the love of pure spirit to flow through you, where that person is concerned, ultimately it gets to them at their center. And they begin to wake up to the love ethic. Why? Because of the profound ground of unity. We're all one. Whether someone is ignorant of that truth, whether someone is a supremacist, whether someone is a hater, they're just living in ignorance of the profound ground of unity that passes between us all. We're all one in the spirit. And so if we live from the love ethic, again, this is not being a doormat. This is not being wistful and appeasing people. It's not none of that. There is a place for righteous indignation. But I'm talking when we're able to love at that level, then real change can take place. Because we start to get to people at the core of their being without them even knowing it. And then incrementally, their real nature and being chips away at the armor of hate. The armor, which generally comes from a deep sense of woundedness and a deep sense of not knowing who one is. And so individuals act out because their ignorance of their soul faculty and their connection with God. But that profound ground of unity allows us to love for such a time as this. For such a time as this. And this is the time for lovers. This is the time for those who really love God, love humanity, and the people around them. This is our moment. All across the world, centers of coherence around love, meditating on the heart, meditating on peace, meditating on joy. That's not anemic. It's powerful. No real change takes place unless love is in that frequency. Stop with me for a moment. Close your outer eyes. Tap the space between your eyebrows so that you're giving yourself permission to see without eyes and to hear without ears, moving beyond the sensorium and coming into the activation of insight. We used to call it the third eye, but we call it the first eye because we're spiritual first. Put the hands on the lap facing upward as a sign of receptivity. Touch the thumb and the middle finger together as a mudra of love and open-heartedness. Close the outer eye. Take a deep inhalation. Release with a sigh of ah. And bring into your mind's eye, into your awareness, a moment in which you had an encounter with unconditional love, the love of God. It may have moved through the instrument called your grandparents, or your parents, or a friend, an associate, a lover, but someone just loved you for no reason whatsoever. And it doesn't matter what age you were, just bring it into your awareness. Strike the mystic chord of memory and remember this love. Remember, if it is difficult, you can't really find a memory, use your imagination and ask yourself, what would it feel like to be totally loved for no reason whatsoever? Now feel into the love. It's not anemic, it's powerful. It's a total givingness from the depth of your spirit. I'm going to invite you to, in just a second, I'm going to invite you to take a breath. I'm going to invite you to hold the breath. At the apex, when you hear the clap of my hand, I want you to magnify and multiply this love feeling times 100. Breathe in. Suspend the breath. When you hear the clap of my hand, magnify times 100 and release with the sound of ah. So the love ethic, the love frequency, it's all around you. It's in you. It is your very life. You are in a field of love. Beyond the experience that you had with another individual, this is a glimpse of the love of the Creator for you. Let's do it again. Inhale. Sustain the breath. Let your nervous system acclimate itself to love. When you hear the clap of my hand, multiply this times 1,000. Release. So you're feeling the frequency of love. Now, I want you to, and you have this ability, rise up and see yourself sitting in the chair. If you have to use your imagination, that's okay. If you can actually do this with me, do it. Just rise up and look at yourself. And as you're looking at yourself, the first thing I want you to do is to embrace yourself with love. Surround yourself with this magnification of the love of God all around you. So that your first dose of love is for you. Doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made in life, how many missteps, how many misgivings. The presence of God is too pure to behold in equity. All it sees is your potential. I want you to see it now. Fall in love with yourself. Just love yourself. Now expand your awareness again, and wherever it is that you are sitting, your room, if you're sitting in a room in a home or an apartment building or wherever, expand your awareness and see that home inside your field of awareness and saturate it with love. Keep expanding. See the neighborhood you're in. You're bigger than this neighborhood. You're infinite consciousness saturated with love. Expand your awareness again and see the territory and the city you're in. It's smaller than your awareness, saturated with love. Expand your awareness and notice the state you're in. You have your territory, you have your city, you have your state, you have your neighborhood. Let the love just pour forth over your whole state. Keep expanding the very country in which your body is inhabiting right now, saturated with love. The continent upon which your body is inhabiting, saturated with love. The very globe. See that world that the astronauts beamed back when they went into outer space and saw for the first time the planet Earth from that perspective, that there were no boundaries, there were no borders, there were no walls, that all of those boundaries are put into the soil by man, but has nothing to do with the presence of God. See the earth. Embrace it in your heart with divine love. The planet itself, all species, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the trees, the forests, the rainforest, all species, the four-legged, the two-legged, the winged, those that swim in the sea. Let the love just pour forth from your heart as you embrace the planet and all of its inhabitants. Let this love ethic increase with every beat of your heart, every inhalation and exhalation. There is an expansion of your awareness of love. Let it include all beings on the planet, those you agree with, those you don't agree with. Come into alignment with your love factor within your own being. And though people may not like you, may not like the way you look, they cannot prevent this love from moving into their heart because of the profound unity that we're sharing on a spiritual realm. They may try to hate you because of the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, where you were born, the language you speak. Let love just pour forth from you. That you become untouched by hate, untarnished by time. You cannot be touched because your frequency is too high. And you are emitting and radiating total love for such a time as this. It is in this awareness that I am called to speak the word for each of us, that each and every being, we recognize them as a face of divinity, even if they've forgotten their original face. Even if they have masked it over with hoods, hate, face, we do not forget. We come into a state of gratitude that we're able to recognize the presence of God, feel so unified with the presence of God that the word that is being spoken is the word of God. That is not a man in the sky, but a presence that is never an absence, that operates with love and law. I speak the word for all of us now that we may be free today. Free to be more and ever less than our true self, and to anchor the beloved community in vision, in thought, in word, and in action. For such a time as this, O Spirit Divine, we give thanks that we've been called out today to be vibrational clearinghouses for the worry and the anxiety and the woundedness and the fear and the hate that we see on our television screens, We've been called up and out to be ambassadors of a kind and just global society, holding the feeling tone of love. We say, let it be so. Give us the strength, let it be so, for such a time as this. And so it is. Amen. As you slowly open your eyes, sometimes it is difficult to love people that hate you, say mean things about you, gossip about you, work against you. And when it's difficult to do that, sometimes you might have to say to the Spirit of the living God, the living one, I can't do it. Do it through me. I give you permission to love through me because I can't attain to that state of consciousness right now. I'm too triggered. I'm too mad. I'm too angry. You'll say, dear Spirit, I can't do it right now. Do it through me. And then as it begins to move through you, based on your permission, your vibration will be uplifted, and you'll discover no one has the power to make you a hater. Then you'll be guided into whatever your action is to be. Everyone has different talents, different gifts. What your action will be to assist in the delivery of the beloved community. Thank you for tuning in. We've been together approximately 47 minutes, and generally don't like to go that long on the Instagrams. I generally didn't switch over to my app, which I'm going to do again, but I thought it was just necessary with all of the static in the world today that we just stop and contemplated love. Someone's writing the door, my heart is open, yes. What is the name of the book? The name of the book is For the Inward Journey by Dr. Howard Thurman. We sell it here at the Agape's Alice's Quiet Mind bookstore. You can order it right from our bookstore. You can go right online, agapelive.com, go to the bookstore and order the book. And those two pieces were called I Want to Be More Loving in My Heart and Keep Open the Door of My Heart. It's a good book to have by your bedside because Dr. Thurman was a mystic, and so he was able to go into dark places in the human experience and find the light and empower and inspire individuals. So, two things, maybe three. As I mentioned earlier, you can participate in the virtual meditation class I'm teaching every Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Pacific time. It's 5 classes. We had the first class last night, Tuesday. When you sign up, you get access to that class so you can listen to the whole thing and proceed. Secondly, go to agapelive.com. It's going to be a beautiful community gathering facilitated by our practitioners, led by Master Practitioner Aisha Mason, in which people will be able to share their feelings around what has happened and their emotions around what has happened at the Capitol, around the world, and be lifted up. And of course, I invite you to be with me on Sundays, 6:45 a.m. Way of meditation service. 9 o'clock, the worship celebration service. 11:30, again, worship celebration service. Both of those services preceded by a meditation service at 8:30 and at 11. Have a bright day, have a beautiful day. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put another loving kindness meditation on my app. If you don't have my app, you can sign up. You just go to michaelbbeckwith.com. It'll show you how to sign up for the app. And there's many interviews on there. that are already there. I'm going to be putting more things on there. But I'm going to go in today and do another loving kindness meditation that will be there permanently for people to just tune into. Yes? One more thing. If you missed the sovereign being meditation, visioning, and activation intensive I did on January 1st, it's still available. It's a good way to start the year with your insight into your vision and the great possibilities for your life. Okie dokie. Okay, I'm going to stop now. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate your presence. God bless you.